Here.
Member Denton Mitchell.
Here.
We have a quorum to do business. Next item is approval of the minutes for April 29th, 2024 special board meeting. Everybody should have those in front of them. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. The next item is financials. Mr. Denton.
Yes, good afternoon, good evening. What I have for you here, page 11, starting with the statement of net position, we have 10 months of financials for you through April. Our fiscal year ends in June of each year, so we're through 10 months. Not a whole lot's changed on the statement of net position from a month ago. Looking at line 65, total assets at $237 million. 62% of that is our property, plant, and equipment, net of our depreciation. You can notice we've had a significant amount of investment in capital assets this year. Just in this first 10 months, we've had $13.6 million in capital investment. The other notable item is a decrease in cash in investments of about $3.3 million, which is planned. We are investing in capital infrastructure quicker than we are generating it. So that is a planned event there. Looking at liabilities, line 135, just over $105 million, with net position on 155 of $132 million. So you have your liabilities and net position equals the $237 million, which is exact same as the assets. The only other thing I'd like to highlight through this first 10 months is look briefly at the financial performance of the company. So just looking briefly at page 16 of your board packet, you'll notice when you look at our expenses are two different line items, 50 and 260. That's our operating and our general and admin. If you look at the two of those together, you see that we're significantly below budget for the year, which is good. That's driven by a few things. One's wholesale power cost is cheaper than we expected, and also benefits and salaries are significantly below due to some retirements and not filling those positions. But when you look at year over year, total revenue is about, right now, through the first 10 months, $91.6 million against total expenses of $81.9 million. So we are running just about $9.7 million in net contribution or increase in net assets through the first 10 months. That's about a 3% change in revenue and about a 4% change year over year in expenses. So those are running pretty close together. But overall, we're doing just a little bit better than expected, but would sure like to see more growth always. But that's where we are through about 10 months. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
And before we act on that, you might just add, we have the greatest gift of all tonight, the budget. So, and that's on, what, June 5th?
We talked about
We'll be
June
meeting
5th,
here.
Wednesday, around 10 a.m., I believe, is what we
Yes.
talked about.
And that's a public meeting. If anybody wants to attend, comment, or whatever, we'll be here that day for most of the day, so, a large part of the day. So, does anybody have any questions on the financials? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Financials are approved. Thank you, Mr. Denton. Next, public comment. Kathy, has anybody signed up?
No, sir.
Any written comments, web comments, or anything?
Only the web comments that were sent last week were the one, and that person has been followed up with. I don't know the outcome. but
Yes.
Staff has followed up.
Right. Next, Mr. General Manager, department reports.
Yes. The first is probably for me, Casey Lindsay.
Good evening. We've been really busy as the weather's starting to get nicer and there's all kinds of things going on outside. We had a presence down at Derby morning for the Downtown Derby Festival. We had our camera down there and we got footage of all the activities going on. I judged the events of the Triple Crown that they had. That's always a fun morning in downtown Frankfort. We took part in the Franklin County Birthday Bash. 229 years Franklin County's been around. We set up our tent there. We had the water monster there. We gave out water bottles and hand sanitizer, and really just enjoyed the night. It was a great night weather-wise out at Lakeview Park. that place is a great venue for concerts. So if anybody watching, if they do that again, please take the opportunity to get out there. They did it. They set up the stage in the middle of the horse arena, and then it's just like a natural terraced off amphitheater. So we really enjoyed that and got to talk to a lot of people that night. They were very excited about things that we have going on here at the plant board. Last week we have started presenting our FPB youth scholarships, and Ms. Dutton Mitchell has been gracious enough to be the one to present those at Franklin County and Western Hills. I'll go ahead and announce those publicly. We've had them on the Facebook page as well. But from Franklin County, this year's recipient was Tyler Ogden. He's going to be going to the University of Kentucky and studying engineering. And from Western Hills High School, the recipient was Charles McBee, and he's going to be going to the University of Northwestern Ohio and studying heavy-duty diesel mechanics. So,
Which Nichelle's already extended him an offer to fill a vacant position.
I did speak to him, I told him we'd be glad to have him back.
Yes.
I did. So we'll be presenting the third award to the Frankfurt High students at their awards ceremony on June 6th. Busy week this week. We have Election Day tomorrow, and we'll do our Election Day show down at the county clerk's office tomorrow night. We have invited all the candidates to come and say thank you to their supporters and to the team that helped them work. We even invited those candidates who didn't have a primary just to give them a couple of minutes to talk about what their campaign's going to look like this summer and this fall. Also, our crew, Cable 10 crew, is very busy. We're doing that tomorrow night. They've got a softball game Wednesday night, and then both graduations on Saturday for Western Hills and Franklin County. So it's a busy time around here, and we're really out there doing stuff on behalf of the Frankfurt Plant Board, and we're glad to do it.
And are we broadcasting the graduations?
We are.
Yes.
Live. So I think we have one at 10 a.m. and one at 6 p.m. I don't know which is which. So are there any questions?
And Catherine, thanks for doing the awards.
It was an honor, and I was very happy to meet those two gentlemen. And on behalf of the plant board, I congratulated all the graduates.
Yes.
And it's just nice to sit and see all the awards, hard work of all these young people in our town. So it was an honor.
I agree.
Yes.
Concur.
Concur.
So that's all I have for tonight.
Any questions for?
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yes, next
Gary,
is
before you,
yes.
I want to point under potential or agreed upon related. Hence, I filed and notified the board members. A family member got summer employment in Louisville. That's not a current vendor of ours, but in the event they would be, I wanted to make sure everybody knew that he had a summer job. So he's home from law school, and so.
Yes, sir.
And if you need to file with the ethics, whatever you need to do with it, just
Yes, I think that's sufficient
Okay.
for the time being.
okay.
And we've had we were working with that firm when I first started here about 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
there's no undue influence.
No, but I want everybody to know that. So
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm sorry, Gary. Go on.
No, thank you. Next is a NOC report, Darren Bowles.
For the Network Operations Center in the month of April, we entered 545 trouble calls, took a total of 2,152 phone calls. On the locate side in April, they completed 611 locates, and that's, excuse me, for the fiscal year, that's 5,832 for the year. So summer's here, it's getting busy like always. Any questions or anything I can answer for?
Is there a lot going on so far? Does it look like a lot of construction or new?
Yeah, I mean, it's summer. Summer's almost here. It's spring, so everyone's out doing everything, especially in the spring, digging holes, planting shrubs, starting construction projects.
Yeah.
So it's not different than any other year. It's that time.
And you might just, for anybody that's watching, remind everybody that the requirement is,
Yeah.
we're out, you call us 811, we're out within,
Yep. Call 811 before you dig if you're going to break ground at all or do any excavating. Kentucky statute, state law is that you call and report it to 811. It's free and no cost. And anyone that has utilities in your area will come out and, you know, paint the area, inspect, just to prevent any damage. I mean, ultimately, that's what it's about. Make sure that we don't get into electric or dig through a cable or phone line or water line.
And if
any of
you,
those things.
if you don't do it and you hit something, it's on,
Yeah,
the property owner has to pay it, right?
yeah. It makes you more liable, so.
Yeah.
It's
And how
better safe than
quickly do you
sorry.
get out?
I'm sorry.
How quickly do you get out?
Within 48 hours, 2 business days.
So you just have to plan ahead.
Just try to plan ahead. And usually it's usually faster than that, especially on the smaller tickets. So yeah, it's not a huge inconvenience if you're thinking about doing it. Just make the call. You can go online and do it. Or you can call and do it, and they'll get a ticket in there. And like I said, anyone that has utilities in that area, whether it's electric, water, cable, any of that stuff, they'll get it marked and taken care of for you. Better than not having TV or water or internet for several days while they fix the repair. You know?
And a big bill.
Yeah, possibly a big bill to go with it. That's correct. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is a customer service, April.
Good evening. To answer Kathy's question, Franklin County's at 10 a.m. So
Oh, yeah.
my firstborn will be there
Okay.
graduating. So if y'all see, don't get me on camera because I'll probably be crying. You'll find the customer service reports, page 75 through 79. Customer service assisted 8,750 customers last month. We did keep the tier 1 calls under a minute, and then tier 2 and tier 3 were both right at about a minute and 40 seconds for each of those. Just a reminder to our cycle 2 customers, those are the customers whose bills are due on the 15th. Budget signups end Friday. So if you want to sign up for budget this week, go ahead and get on your portal and take care of that so that we can get you on budgets for the next year. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them. All right, thank you all.
Next is telecommunication, our superintendent, Adam.
Good afternoon. The telecom part report starts on page 81 with customer penetrations. Look like we gained another 1.5% in next band customers, so that number is moving. We had 2 outages for the month. One was a blown fuse over off Cold Harbor Drive, and the other one was a trunk amp module that got hit by lightning down off Home Street, Tracy Court area. Trouble calls about average for the month, so that's okay. Nothing big on the next band, still everything kind of moving. We got some areas hopefully we'll get tested and turned up in the next couple of weeks. And then on the county side, moving forward with trying to get a temporary part-time position to go out and get easements, but right now we have 81 easements already signed, so that's, you know, it's a good sign that they're coming in. So
Any word on the new federal grant, when that might become?
I read something today, and they're talking fall.
Okay.
Mike has actually been working with them daily to get our challenge list back to them. We've had some issues with some data conversion, but I think we got that worked out this morning. But the article, the latest article I read from the state said probably fall. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next is electric departments, Scott Hodgson, travel.
Good evening. Electric starts on page 85. That will be our SAIDI number. Still running in the mid-40s, 44.515. Page 86, once again, is our pie chart, which shows the different kind of percentages for the outages we have. Page 87 takes those percentages and shows you the actual number count for each outage, with a total of 22 outages for the month. And on page 88, you'll see the top 10 outages for the month, with 105 customers affected. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. The SEPA report for this month begins on page 89 of your board package. So for March of this year, our total SEPA bill was $81,687. Our net payment received was $106,892 for a profit for the month of $25,205. And on page 91, you'll see through March of 2024, the net benefit to the plant board of SEPA is at $298,291. And that's all I've got for SEPA. Any questions? For AMI, we're at 17,865 electric installs, 12,310 water. So moving along. Business as usual on AMI. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for the KYMEA, I really don't have anything more except they plan to keep the rate as a flight for the next couple of years.
Okay.
Actually, that when you say flights, based on last year when they put all this combined rate increase and also fuel charge on state level as a flight. It's not like a lower that.
But the rate customers are paying right now is not projected to go up in the new budget year, correct?
That's based on the number they gave to us for next 3 years.
Okay.
They put them all 5-year flight, but I do have some concern on the 4th and 5th year. But that's far enough. It's hard to say because the concern is there are more cost increase on the 4th and 5th years. The bigger line item, most likely KBMU will discuss in this month or next month, is make a decision for the rice unit. Yes. Which is we are not any part of that. So I'm happy to answer any question if you have any. Okay. For next is a safety teller.
Good evening. So the month of April wasn't good for us for OSHA recordables. We had 4. That's the most we've had in about 6 years in 1 month. 2 were at the water treatment plant, 1 electric employee, and 1 knock dispatcher were OSHA recordables. I can go into more detail if you want on each one if you would like.
Were they serious injuries?
No. So 1 of the water treatment plant employees got poison ivy. Okay. They tried the calamine lotion, didn't work out. They had to go receive a steroid shot. So that's beyond first aid. That makes it recordable. Second one, employee slipped, strained his knee and strained his shoulder. So doctor put him on restricted duty. That makes it recordable. The electric employee went to climb up into his vehicle and twisted his knee funny. Put him on restricted duty. Makes it OSHA recordable. And 4, knock dispatcher slipped while getting into the chair slid out from behind them and fell. And what makes that recordable is the employee wanted to seek treatment from a chiropractor.
Okay.
So that's beyond first aid treatment. So that's automatically OSHA recordable.
Okay.
So nothing too serious. And with the accidents, we just had 1 in the water department. One of the water trucks smacked mirrors with a FedEx truck going down a small road.
And the damage I caused with the forklift was minimal, right?
Minimal, very minimal, yes.
Well, John, I did have a question. I want to know if either of those slips were John
Oh,
in his activities.
no, he did good.
He put that water cooler out behind me. It was not there when I started backing up.
But that's all I got for safety. If y'all have any other questions? Good, thank you.
Next is water distribution. Brian.
Good afternoon. The water distribution monthly report is on pages 95 through 97. We installed 1 new service. We had 3 main breaks and 2 outages. And besides our normal board report, we are about 40% complete with our annual flushing program. We completed a main installation at 300 Washington Street, a new fire system and domestic, and that is for kind of like a bed and breakfast that they're putting in down there. And then Saturday, we completed our job down at the Capitol on the 20 and the 14-inch cutting and capping, and Miss Mitchell stopped by and talked to us. It was real nice. So all that's complete. The meters moved. The outage, we had everybody off there, and 2 or 3 hours we had everybody back on in water. So
And they were there with bells on a Saturday morning, and I was like, I appreciate you. You don't even have to act that happy about it.
Yeah.
But he was.
Well, I tell you that our crews, when when the bells, I mean, they're there to get the job done, and they have great attitudes. We're very fortunate to have the employees we have. And we're
So where all
appreciative
that gravel and everything is there on that side, that's where,
the temporary House and Senate chambers
Chambers
are
gonna go.
Yes. There's going to be a breezeway in between the two to connect them.
Mhm.
So the whole fire system had to be moved out, and they had to do a lot of work on their end too. As we were doing our work, they were doing their tie overs on their end. So the water meter moved from beside the building on that side all the way up into the new pit, and then that's where their fire system valves are now too.
Okay.
So big project. So,
yeah.
Yep. Any questions on anything?
So is Catherine's help on site better than my help on, is that pretty much where we're at on
Well, she is incognito, so when she's running, she's keeping an eye on the crews working downtown. So
Yes,
yeah. So
and, you know, I wish I knew back, you know, seeing previous sites what I
Yeah.
know now, because when I saw your all site this time, I knew what the safety stuff was.
Absolutely.
And I
Trenching,
should have looked for it at
I
an
was-
earlier event, but now we know.
yeah, I was telling Tyler about the trench box and that stuff, and you got to see the trench box in the hole too. So
Yeah.
so yeah. So those larger water mains are usually a little bit deeper because they got to have a little more cover on them.
So John, can we have a board policy that exempts board members from OSHA reporting?
Is that
Yeah, they're pretty picky. They'll find something. Yeah, they'll get you on something.
As soon as we do that, Steve, you're gonna fall. You're gonna fall.
Well, I won't be a statistic.
Yeah. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next is water treatment plant, Brendan.
Oh, we got chemical bids today too. We got chemical bids later.
That's right.
on, so there you go.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of April, the water treatment plant treated 218,982,000 gallons of water for an average daily production of 7.3 million gallons per day. Lot 4 averaged 10,345 cubic feet per second for an average of 6.78 billion gallons per day. And there was 5.1 inches of rainfall recorded this month. Is there any questions?
Any questions? Okay, if we could, I'm gonna hold off on yours.
Yeah, that's fine.
You wanna go on
It's
to
only
these?
gonna be wind blow through.
Okay, you wanna go through these, then we're gonna move Corn Ferry up, because they're gonna join us by Zoom. But you've got 2 items here. You wanna
It's
go
just
on?
one, it's just two.
Well, that's right, yeah, I've looked
Yeah.
at chemical bid award, but that's not your stuff. You wanna do 5.1?
Yeah. Staff prepares an annual bid for the chemicals in water treatment. We received 16 bids this year. We are switching to back to an annual bid, so that'll be good. So I mean, they look pretty good. A lot of them are down, and prices are going down, so that's good. So.
Yeah, and so when you say these are annual, so will these carry for pretty much the next budget year?
It'll do July 1 to June 30. So
Okay.
I won't be in December or whatever. So.
No, but for David's purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all of next fiscal
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's easier. So, but they eBridge recommended that. So
anybody have any questions for?
So prices are down or going down?
they've trended down for the most part. There's just a few that went up. I think the ones that went up went 4%, 2%. There's one that went up 10. But
I guess my question was, do we want to lock right now or wait? That's really.
it's kind of, you never know. I mean,
Are
it's
these,
kinda-
are they now going back to where they were before they were all going up, or
They're
are we
not
still above?
They're
or-
not that far. They're not down that far.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably, like, take fair for instance. I think we're paying about 13 or 14 cents a pound before COVID.
Okay.
So
Are they offering us less than a 12-month contract?
they'll do 6 months. That's what we were doing. We did it for.
Right, I didn't know if they just offer that because of the, and they've gone back to 12, but we're going back to 12
Yeah, it's
voluntarily.
us, not them.
But I would assume it's typically a better price at a 12-month contract.
Yeah, because you bid the same amount. You bid the same amount, just you do it half twice. But I don't know if you. I mean, it's kind of roll the dice, really.
We were doing 6 months because none of the suppliers would let
yeah,
us
the
do it
suppliers
here
did not want to hold.
because they were concerned about price increases.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm fine with doing the whole year. I just think if we can set a number out there and have it for budgetary purposes, I don't think the savings is going to be that great, and I think there's a risk involved.
Well, I think he said there is no savings.
Well, it just kind of depends on.
I mean, except
you
for
do it
the
once.
market risk, but.
Yeah, so they're covering themselves for a year rather than 6 months. So I mean.
But you're saying it's 6 months times 2 is what we're getting.
Yeah, but if you bid in 6 months, I mean, things could go up.
It might be up to
10%.
Again, my question was just really like, you playing the market or whatever. You said it was down, then you said going down. So I'm just saying, is it stopped, it down, or is it going down? I know you don't know that answer.
Yeah,
I'm all right with
it's
what
all
you're doing,
material
so.
costs, and I can't tell you what it's going to do. So they won't tell me either. So.
Did we do these bids individually or as part of a group or one of those reverse auctions, or how did we reverse bids or?
Yes, 9 of them were reverse bids. One was where we do open, where they won't, they just won't do a reverse auction.
Yeah.
With the salt.
Yeah. And when will we have the testing done on the activated carbon?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have that tomorrow. We had it Friday, but there was a mishap, so we opted to test again.
And
So.
we'll approve that at the June meeting.
Yeah, that and the salt.
Okay. All right.
David, what's your thinking for budgetary purposes?
No, I'm comfortable with the way things are laying out. I mean, if you look the chemical cost, if you look at 22 versus where we are today, I mean, it's up 50% since 2022. When we were budgeting $500,000, we're budgeting $1 million now. So I don't think, inflation doesn't go backwards from what I can tell.
No. So for the new year, you're thinking to budget for the fiscal year 24-25. You're thinking you're going to budget $1 million for chemicals?
That's what we have in this draft.
And for the year ending this coming June, we're coming in, what are you thinking about?
We're estimating it'd be right at $1 million.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was 830 at the end of April, so through 10 months, and then I think I figured 1.02 or something like that. But,
So basically, you're looking at just straight line coming from 24 into 25.
Yes, we're not expecting a whole lot of additional usage compared to this last year.
Right. Jason, Catherine, what are y'all's feelings?
I'm good with what I only asked the question because he said it was down and then going down. And if it's going down, obviously the question would be, should we wait? That's not really a budgetary implication because the budget can stay at $1 million.
Right.
But
by locking it down,
Well,
if we lock it down, we know it won't go worse than $1 million.
well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I just raised the question.
Yeah. No, it's a good question,
How strong going down was. If it's just really, really speculative.
it's roll of the dice, really.
What you do?
I guess I have the sense that, we're not going to be paying less prices. We're just going to slow down how fast prices go up. So we can lock in 12 months. It's going to help us because inflation will still exist at 3%.
Yeah, staying flat's not bad anymore.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, still order, I'll make a motion to consider the award of bid invitation 1801 for the annual price contract for water treatment chemicals.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved. Thank you, sir. Nichelle, you want to come up? If it's okay with everyone, we'll go on and do 5.4. And this isn't for a vote or action tonight because on the June 5th meeting, we've got the whole section on salaries. Do we want to adopt the Corn Ferry new schedule? What do we want to adopt in terms of a COLA? What do we want to do for employees below the midpoint? All those. But this is like one last chance to make sure everybody's had the information, had a chance to talk to Nichelle. This is to make sure that everybody feels comfortable with the Corn Ferry recommendations. So when we get to the 5th, if there's anything else you need between now and then, you can ask it and make sure we're kind of comfortable where we're going. So Nichelle, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, board chair, members of the board. Just want to make sure Josh, okay. The board asked staff to request proposals for a compensation firm to review Frankfurt Plant Board's current compensation plan. The firm Korn Ferry was selected to conduct the overall review. The past couple weeks, I've been working with, staff has been working with Korn Ferry to do a review of FPB's compensation plan. Today I have Josh with us. He's a member of the Korn Ferry team, and he's going to present the preliminary draft findings of the review from our current compensation plan. A copy of the presentation is located in the board package on pages 111 to 131. Josh, go ahead.
Thank you, Nichelle. I am joining you today from Des Moines, Iowa. Like Nichelle said, I'm a consultant with the firm Korn Ferry. I specialize in analyzing and designing compensation plans for specifically organizations in the utility, public sector, not-for-profit, and healthcare industries. I'm excited to share with you the findings and recommendations of our analysis. This has involved a lot of conversations with leaders across FPB, talking about their positions, their current issues with the compensation plan. And I know that the work that your organization does is critical. So being able to retain and attract talent is definitely something that is the goal of this this analysis. I'm not able to share my screen.
David, Josh, you should have permission now.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you able to see that? Or okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what I will walk through is just a high-level overview of the project. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we evaluate and measure work as the foundation for a compensation analysis. Then I'll move into the market analysis and findings, and then how we bring that together to develop a internally equitable and externally competitive structure. This presentation kind of builds on itself, so if you have questions throughout, please let me know. Otherwise, I do have time at the end that I'll take any questions. So specifically, FPB engaged Korn Ferry to update its compensation program. And we were asked to look at how jobs are leveled, then review the market competitiveness for the organization, develop consistent and competitive pay structures, and also administrative guidelines for governance and administering pay in the organization, and then providing a model and cost impact for adopting those recommendations. And to get to this point, like I mentioned before, we've had a lot of conversation with leaders across the organization, and Nichelle and I have been working for a few months now on collecting and understanding data and understanding your organization and the jobs that are specific to your organization. We evaluated a set of benchmark jobs with our proprietary method of job evaluation, so how we measure work. And to do that, we look at what is required of the job in terms of the breadth and depth of knowledge, the level of problem solving responsibilities a role has, and then the ultimate accountabilities for the function or the organization that the role has. We then met with leaders across the organization to take a look at their roles in a matrix view to see if the relative placement made sense from a career and job architecture standpoint. We then moved into the external market analysis part of the project, where we looked at the competitiveness of current pay, and then used the results of both the internal look from job evaluation, the external look from the market analysis to develop a compensation structure, and then modeled the impact and cost of adopting that structure. At a high level, overall, from a base pay perspective, FPB is just slightly above the market median. Again, that's in terms of base pay. When you look at total cash compensation, you're just slightly below the market median. So overall, you're reasonably competitive against a market target of the median of the market. One thing to consider, though, is public sector organizations are often limited in how they can utilize variable compensation programs like incentives and bonuses. The private sector has those additional levers to be able to pull and to be able to award to employees. So what that might mean is perhaps a little bit more competitive, like you're currently practicing right now on the base pay side, just to remain competitive with other private sector employers. When we look at how the new structure impacts current employees, there's a handful of employees that fall below the proposed structure, and then just a few employees fall above the range maximum of our new compensation structure. And then for ongoing administration, our recommendation is to conduct a review like this every few years. Changes in the market from one year to the next are typically pretty predictable, but it's when you get to about 2 or 3 years out of a major market study like this is when some significant changes can happen and can be missed by just a continuation of things. So when we take a look at job evaluation, what we mean by job evaluation is how we measure work. Korn Ferry is known for its work and job measurement, which is a systematic process of ranking jobs. And this allows for a consistent and fair comparison of the relative size and value of work across an organization. This is important because it provides a defensible framework for making decisions about the relative value of work. This tells us what like for like type of work is. It adds precision to our market pricing because the value of work isn't just what's found externally, it's also how we utilize roles and how we've designed roles to be utilized within our own organizations. So this is a critical piece that a lot of people sometimes, a lot of organizations miss is the internal value of work. One way that we can look at some internal equity or how roles are valued internally in the organization is by looking at what is called the comp ratio. Comp ratio is probably one of the most important, most kind of frequently used metric or measure within the compensation function. And what the comp ratio shows is relative placement to the midpoint of a pay range. So it's a math equation. You take the current employee salary divided by the midpoint of the salary grade and you get a percentage. So a percentage of 100% means the employee's salary is exactly equal to the midpoint of the pay grade. And if our midpoints are set at our market target, then we kind of extrapolate and say, okay, if you are paid at the midpoint, you're also paid at the market target, the median of the market, or whatever that happens to be. Currently within FPB, the graph at the right shows, most employees, most functions are paid pretty close to that 100% comp ratio, which is what we would expect. But when you look at electric, on aggregate, the employees are actually paid much higher in the pay range, and that could be because the market is requiring a little bit higher of a pay rate for employees in that function. And that can be due to the scarcity of talent, the demand in the region for that type of skill set. So that is the first component, the internal look. Now we're going to shift over to the external view, the market analysis piece. So to look at the external market, we compared roles to a blend of general industry, utility-specific data, a broader industrial utility blend of data, because a lot of the skill sets that are utilized by your organization exist in kind of that broader industrial view as well. And then we matched to revenue organizations of revenue size similar to yours. The data comes from Korn Ferry's proprietary database. So clients and organizations that we work with supply data, and we have that available to us, similar to there's dozens and dozens of data sources. So Korn Ferry is one of those that has their own proprietary database. Survey data, whether it's Korn Ferry's or any survey or compensation data that you find, is from a moment in time. But we know that wages continue to move constantly from year to year and throughout the year. So what we do is we age the data forward. We apply a factor of what we expect wages to move between when the data was pulled and when the organization we're working with plans to implement their structure or any changes that we recommend. So this data has been moved forward by an annual rate of 3.5%, because that's what we expect wages to move in a year. We also considered geographic differentials based on your local region and talent market, and I will talk about that in the next slide. So the cost of labor refers to the cost to hire and retain talent based on the external labor market practices within your local region. So that's the supply and demand of specific skills and types of workers across industries and occupations in a specific geographic location. It is different than the cost of living. The cost of living is often more volatile from period to period. Cost of labor tends to be more static. They're often correlated, so you have regions like New York City or San Francisco have both a high cost of living and a high cost of labor. But often labor is not quite as extreme of a differential. But it's important to consider the cost of labor with your region because it is different than, say New York City or other locations. So the cost of labor specific to Frankfort, Kentucky is about 12% below the national average cost of labor. We typically recommend rounding those differentials to the nearest 10% increment. This just helps with ongoing administration of the compensation program, rather than trying to match the exact percentage every year. So market data in this analysis was adjusted by a minus 10% differential to account for that cost of labor adjustment. We use national data in most of our analyses like this because that provides us the most robust sample size, and then we can adjust it by these local labor differentials. So like I mentioned at the beginning in our key findings, overall, a pretty competitive market position for base pay. You're just over the market median, the 50th percentile, which equals the market median, so 55th is just over that. Like I mentioned before though, private sector organizations who you are competing with for a lot of your key critical talent have additional levers that they can pull, like incentives and bonuses and other types of cash compensation. So when we look at total cash compensation, your competitiveness falls a little bit, but it's still pretty close to, you know, that market median position, just under the market median. One thing to note, this does not consider benefits though. So your benefit package may be richer than what you might find in a lot of private sector organizations. So then that would, you know, push your competitiveness up for your overall package a little bit higher as well. When we compare what your organization pays to the market by position, that's what this chart is doing. So each dot represents a job at the plant board. We have your average pay plotted along the vertical axis, and then we have the market rate plotted along the horizontal axis. The black line represents the point at which the market rate is equal to your average pay rate. What we expect is a cluster around the black line. We don't expect that to be completely equal in any organization. Some of this is due to, you know, just small sample size. Maybe it's a one-person incumbent job who is very new to the organization and the role. So we would expect them to be paid, you know, toward the minimum of the range and probably a little bit under market. So overall, this is a very strong picture. You are clustered right around that line that we would expect. There are a couple outlier jobs that we've worked with Nichelle to kind of understand why those might be the way that they are. So once we have an understanding of the internal relative value and hierarchy of work and an external market analysis, we can bring those together to a structure that balances the two. So what we've done is targeted the 50th percentile of the market for base salary for your core roles, and then introduced a field structure which sits 15% higher than the core structure. This is to be used for hard to recruit roles and roles that have skill sets that often receive a premium in the market. So we talked about before, a lot of your roles in the electric function, you're already paying them higher in your existing pay ranges, and that's likely because the market is demanding that for you to be able to attract and retain those workers. So what we're doing is splitting those out into two structures so that those individuals still have the appropriate room in the range to progress their pay and grow with the organization. Ultimately, this is what the two salary structures look like. So it's not as many pay grades as the plan board has today, but it does capture most employees very well within the pay range that they've been assigned. And then it does split out the core roles. So this is a lot of your corporate and support roles, and then the field or kind of premium structure. One thing I wanted to mention also for ongoing administration of the pay structure is that typically every year, employers will adjust their pay structure by a certain percentage. There are surveys typically released in the fall with what employers plan to give for merit increases and salary budgets and structure adjustments. Korn Ferry provides some of those surveys. I've also included another organization survey on this slide. That shows typically for the past couple of years, employers have adjusted their pay structures by about 2.5% to 3% per year. This is a little bit below their overall budget, which is likely to be about 3.5% to 4%. This allows employees to continue moving along within the structure while you're still keeping that structure moving with wage growth year over year. And like it was mentioned in the introduction, this is still a recommendation. So ultimately there are a few decision points that need to be made before these are adopted. And the options that are available to the board are to adopt the recommendation as is. We can also adapt the recommendation, and that might mean something like a change to the market target. So maybe the 50th percentile isn't the right market target. Maybe the organization does want to target a little bit higher in the market to account for those incentives and other things, other total cash components of compensation that aren't available to the plan board for workers. There might also be changes to the jobs that have been assigned to the field or technical structure. And then we can always adjust how the structure progresses as well. So a lot of levers to pull to make the structure work better for the organization if the preliminary recommendation isn't exactly if it doesn't meet the needs right now. And the third option is to just adjust the current structure that you already have. We estimate about 10% to account for how much the market has moved between the last review and our current analysis. I'll open it up to any questions anyone has.
Catherine?
I have a couple. If you go back to page 17, and first of all, I want to say thank you to Korn Ferry. Just so folks know, all of the board members met individually with Korn Ferry to review their draft, so it's gotten adjusted some. So this isn't the first time we've seen the draft, but and maybe I understood this at the time, but maybe I've forgotten, but on page 17 is where you were addressing that approximately 4% in overall salary budget increases on average in the nation in 2024. Is that, are you talking about salary increases due to cost of living, or salary increases just to keep up, and then companies also do typically a cost of living, or is it the same thing? Is it the same 2.6 to 4%?
The 4% refers to kind of your all-in budget. So a lot of organizations have many different components of their salary budget. So 4% is the all-in. But just to give you an idea, a lot of organizations might have a flat across the board cost of living increase, plus they might do a merit increase, plus they might do pay equity adjustments and market adjustments, kind of like from the result of, you know, implementing a study like this. So it's that all-in budget. Other organizations just have one type of increase. Maybe it's a cost of living increase for everyone, and that's it. So the 4% recommends or represents that all-in budget.
Okay. And Nichelle, maybe you can explain this question to him better than I'm going to put it. But our approach in the past is like a 2 and 2 increase. So how would this factor into their recommendation?
I've received a little bit of background on the 2 and 2, so I'll attempt to answer the question, but let me know if this isn't going in the right direction. The 2 and 2 program, for what I understand, was meant to provide larger increases to individuals lower in the pay range to help kind of speed them up in earning and to the midpoint or higher in the pay range. This recommendation would it would still require something like your 2 and 2 program, or that would kind of be the best practice. So your structure is going to continue to move every single year, and if people aren't moving at a fast enough rate, they will fall behind in the pay structure. And so the goal is to progress people to the midpoint, because that's your market rate. So the midpoint represents the market median pay for that role. And that means if somebody's been at the plant board for 7-8 years in their position, they would probably be able to get that market rate from changing jobs or from your competitors. So it's important that they are progressing toward that midpoint and not continually kind of lingering at the lower end of the pay range. Once they're at or above the midpoint, they're competitive in the market. So that it's still a concern. You want to reward sustained high performance, but they're paid competitively in the market. Really, the primary concern is those that are below the market rate, below the midpoint for a sustained period of time.
Okay. And does that relate to the graph with the diagonal line, and most of our dots were above it, but some below it?
It could, yeah. But it could also be that the market has moved since these jobs were evaluated. And we've also introduced a new job evaluation system or measurement of work. So through our system, we may have found that this job in particular, you actually should be valuing this much higher than you currently do. So you're significantly behind in the market compared to the value that role provides to the organization.
Okay, okay.
And
I mean,
I'm sorry, no.
well, I was just saying, so, I mean, part of what you've done for us and essentially through our contract is tapped into your proprietary formula for valuing the different factors in each person's job, and you've trained our staff on that, and then also given us your compensation data, and you recommend, you know, between every 2 and 3 years to reevaluate. Is that something our staff now will be able to do? And will we have access to your compensation data in the future, or would that be a separate contract if we wanted to tap into your data in the future?
The current contract gives you access to our data for a year, so it is a annual contract for our data. We do all sorts of re-engagements with clients, and it's really kind of dependent on your needs. Some of our clients, you know, they have the skill, they could do this, but the time that, you know, market analysis comes around is just a really incredibly busy and demanding time, so they outsource it to us to do that. It could also be an instance of a time when, you know, if things are pretty static at the organization, then the annual or every 2 or 3 year look is not as heavy a lift as it's like what we went through now, that everything's been leveled. It's easy to capture the handful of new jobs that have been created between now and in the future. But some organizations go through radical reorganizations and significant change in you know, the type of roles that are in the organization, or have added business units or lines of service that might need a deeper look. So it really depends on kind of all of those factors, the level of detail and support that'll be needed ongoing.
So Ms. Catherine Dutton Mitchell, also if the board chooses to adopt the Corn Ferry plan, there is additional processes that I will need assistance with. We would have to change the policy from, you know, our current policy that's based on our current compensation plan, like processes for promotions. And he talks about structural adjustment, but just going over some, like he said, a deeper dive. So if we do, there's other additional things, because as right now they review what we currently have, but then if we adopt what they have recommended, then there are some other processes that also goes along with compensation that would need to be reviewed.
Okay, all right.
And we've got, if I'm not mistaken, Michelle, Steve and I spent, because you know, all of us kind of went and looked at some different things. Steve and I spent a lot of time with Michelle and David and Katrina and Gary, and I think when we get to June 5th, and David and Katrina have priced out a lot of these things, we'll have the decision on the COLA. We'll have what we want to do on the midpoint, which is in the past has been 2 and 2. If we adopt the new salary schedule, which divides into the field and core, there's 27 employees that fall out that we need to look at that salary. We'll have to deal with the maximum in the range for people to make sure if we want everybody to get the full COLA. And then because this year, correct me if I'm wrong, David, the CERS match rate goes from 23 to 19% on CERS employer match, then Steve and I have asked David and Katrina and Michelle to look at what we're currently doing for Tier 3, and do we want to make any changes to make our Tier 3 401A plan, that's supplemental. Do we want to do anything to enhance that, since the overall CERS rate's going down, and to make our Tier 3 a little more competitive? So, and what will happen is when we get till June 5th, is every one of these will build on each other. If we pick one option, and then we pick another option, we start putting stuff in the base and multiplying it. So we'll have to run all those numbers, but Dave and Katrina have tried to put that together so whichever way the board wants to go, those numbers can kind of fall in. But I think one of the best things about the Corn Ferry, and there's always going to be things you like or don't like or whatever, but for the first time, we've always wrestled with what Corn Ferry's calling the field positions, which includes IT, water, electric, telecom, where we know we're competing directly with the private sector. And we've always wrestled with trying to play catch up. What are they paying? I mean, for the core functions, we can look around this community, but the field functions is a bigger marketplace. And we are competing directly for, workers in Lexington, Louisville, Scott County. I mean, it's a different market. So there's a lot to consider. And Corn Ferry is, at the same time, and I know there's always sometimes, do we want to compare to what state government or not, but they've been doing what for at least 2 years, I guess, maybe 3 years, for the State Personnel Cabinet and General Assembly, this same thing, and looking at market compression study. I mean, looking at trying to sort through the state system, which ours can be complex, but they've really, with 27,000 workers, theirs is all over. So they've tried to sort through that to kind of bring some, I don't want to call it how that all can function. Right. So they're doing that similar work in this community. So that's, whether it be good or bad, they're at least familiar with what's going on in Franklin County.
And so since you brought up about the different
Sure.
structures and what titles fall in the structure, that's another thing. Once the board makes a decision, again, if we adopt the Corn Ferry process or plan, then it'll be a deeper dive into, the board will review who's in each, and so we have Corn Ferry's recommendation, but still the board would need to approve who is in each structure. How would you like those structures to move? And so, again, once you make the decision, it's some additional processes after that.
And what Corn Ferry's done, I would add this, is what we ask them to do in a sense. We have a system that we've used for years, and we ask Corn Ferry and Nichelle up front to say, what are there other options to how we approach this? And what they've done is give us some options. We don't have to adopt anything. We can just stay where we are, do a COLA, just go on with life. Or we can pick and choose what we want to do here. So, what we asked for was some options, and now we've got them. Now we're going to have to decide what we want to do. So,
and just also keep in mind, in HR staff has no issue, but once you adopt, we will have to make sure on the administrative side, we have a payroll system, or Kronos is our payroll HR system. So some changes will need to be made in there as well.
And along with this goes a 10-year contract that you can never leave, right?
We'll see.
We'll see.
But yes,
yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
John,
Yeah,
I have
sure.
Nichelle, we don't have any. When we would do the 2 and 2, 2 and 2 is based on satisfactory performance, correct?
Correct. For individuals that are below the midpoint.
For below the midpoint.
Yes.
We had, I don't think since I've been on the board, we haven't had any sort of merit-based pay increases or anything in the budget for merit-based pay increases, have we?
No.
Okay. All right.
And one other option we've never talked about is do away with all the systems and just make Gary sort it out every year.
I like to keep Gary. So.
Better Gary than me. So.
Let me ask if the gentleman Corn Ferry here, the idea of merit raises, how does that fit into this? And does that I know it can throw some people off, and but still within the thing. But if you have people that you have a system of evaluation and people are really doing an outstanding job, that would probably have to be a separate budget item, separate from the what's available for cost of living raises. So, but I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that and how that could affect the salary structure.
Yeah, and so typically, if organizations offer both of those programs, I will say it's more common for it to be one or the other, either a kind of across the board cost of living increase for everyone or a performance-based increase that allows for some differentiation. But some organizations might offer both, but it might be like spaced at 2 different times of the year to kind of, you get some employee satisfaction from, 2 different types of increases. But it might be a little bit less than what you currently do. So it might be something like 1.5% or 2% for everyone. But then you have this extra performance-based increase where, exceptional performance maybe gets a 2 or 3% additional increase. And sometimes that's also kind of correlated to where somebody's at in the range. So if they're kind of below the midpoint, maybe it's that 3%. If they're above the midpoint, maybe it's 1 or 2%.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Nichelle or Corn Ferry? Okay.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate all the
Thanks,
work
Josh.
you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, going back to the agenda, item 5.2, consider approval of agreement with Groves Construction and Bolin Companies for storm response. Scott? This is a good one because it doesn't cost any money, right?
Correct. It's
Good.
free. Let's use it. That's on page 3, as you see. This is something we do every year. If you remember, we for FEMA requirements, we have to have on file some rates of contractors. So if we were to use them in a storm situation, we call them in. These rates are already set. They cannot raise them or lower them or anything. So as Mr. Keybon said, we hopefully don't have to ever use that avenue for help. We use a mutual aid, but it's here if we need it. So, and it costs no money until we use it.
Right. And this protects us so that if we do need them, we're not out trying to negotiate price in the middle of the night trying to get somebody to come here.
Correct.
Right.
John, I have one
Yes, sir.
question. We've used Groves, and we used Groves last year and the year before last, have we not?
No, we used mutual aid people.
Well, no, I mean, for these 2 contracts, did we not have Groves under these contracts or not?
Oh, yes, we've used Groves and both. And
Okay.
we used to get, Davis H. Elliott used to also give us a price, but they had kind of quit giving us a price.
Okay.
So these are the 2 that we currently still get pricing from.
And when we have had to use these folks, they have done adequate work.
Well, we've never had to use these folks
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's one of those knock on wood things.
So we tap into the mutual aid first.
Yes, correct.
So that when we had that big wind event, we didn't have to go with this. We used other utilities from other cities came and helped us.
Correct, yes. We used the people from, as the storm went across the state, the east section of the state didn't get hit as hard as the west, so we got help from the east part of the state, eastern part of the state.
Any questions for, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 5.3, Nichelle gets to come back. Consider approving health plan amendment number 20. You just like being up there, don't you? No, you don't, do you?
All right. So MedBen, Frankfurt's third-party health administrator, recommends adding language to our health plan document to exclude the prescription drug Humira. Humira is a specialty drug that treats illnesses such as rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease. FPB's pharmacy plan currently excludes specialty drugs. So for last year's health plan at the beginning, the board approved to exclude specialty drugs or medications. In the event the member is not eligible, so also when we did the exclusion, the plan also adopted a drug assistance program that assists members to receive manufacturer discounts or coupons for specialty drugs. So in the event the member is not eligible to obtain their specialty drug or prescription or medication at a reasonable cost, FPB's pharmacy health plan would absorb the cost of the specialty medication. So without excluding Humira or the exclusion language in our plan, FPB pharmacy plan would be responsible for Humira's estimated monthly cost of $6,748. With the excluded language, Members are prescribed the preferred biosimilar drug named Idacio. Idacio offers the same potential benefits as Humira, and the cost is $1,116 in comparison to Humira's $6,000. So staff asked the board to approve adding language to FPB's health plan and prescription drug plan to exclude Humira with the effective date of 1/1/2024. A copy of the amendment is listed in the detail pages.
If I could, let me ask you two things. Because I know Steve had some right now, we're not taking this away from anybody, correct?
No, the individuals that were receiving assistance has been transitioned to the Idacio.
And then say we have an employee, walk me through a real example then. A doctor prescribes the Humira to someone.
Okay.
$6,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens?
So if a member is prescribed the Humira, right off the bat, our plan excludes it because it is a specialty drug. So then that individual will come to HR and we will give their information to RX helpers, and that's the drug assistants, and they'll work solely with the member to try to help them receive some type of discount coupon or card, and it is based on their income. So then at that point, if they are eligible for the discount, the assistance plan will also, because if they don't get a coupon and say that it bounces back to Frankfurt Plant Board and we have to pay for it, then our drug plan, pharmacy plan will still say, well, Humira is excluded, but you can be prescribed Idacio, which again is similar to Humira.
And if we don't have the policy excluding it, our employees aren't eligible for that assistance plan, right?
No,
we have to have our policy excluding it in order to trigger the assistance plan, right?
Correct. But then if we don't exclude Humira, although we have the exclusion for specialty and they go to get assistance, then they would still be able to receive Humira under the drug assistant program.
Okay.
So we're just trying to, it's already excluded, but if they are eligible for assistance, it's kind of almost like a backdoor. They can still get Humira and the plan is still responsible because they have a prescription for it to get it through the drug assistance program.
Okay. Steve?
Let me ask you, if they were to get drug through the drug assistance, and you said a discount, and if it cost us $6,000, what would it cost the patient or the employee if they got Humira through the discount?
Again,
what kind of percentages, generally speaking, what kind of percentages discounts are they on drugs?
I'm not for sure because it's based on their income. Because they're asking the manufacturer or a coupon or a discount coupon program to assist them with their drugs. So they go through a whole process of looking at their income. So I honestly don't know.
So it's a case by case?
Yes.
So I mean, I guess, me trying to play the cheap game, if I'm the employee, I might not want the discount if I can get the generic drug through the plan board for $1,000. I mean, it doesn't cost me anything, but it doesn't cost me anything to get the generic drug through.
Okay, so Idacio is also a specialty drug. So the member wouldn't be able to get that on our plan either.
So I thought if they went through the drug discount process and they were not able to come to some term or was not approved for that, then they could come back to the plan board and get the Idacio.
Yes, but are you saying could they?
So who pays for that at that point?
If they weren't approved, we do.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that if I might hope that I'm not approved for the drug discount program.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because if not, I'm going to get it free. That's what I was trying to do. But second question: what if the doctor says it's Humira or nothing? It's got to be that. Some doctors say it's got to be the real thing.
Right. Then at that time they could go through an appeal process.
Okay. Well, which is kind of similar to other drug pro where you get into pre-authorization and the doctor tries to convince whoever it is, the drug Anthem whoever Humana
Upfront.
is saying, my patient has to have this, and then the insurance company has to go through and figure out, is there something unique about that drug, that condition, that only the brand name will treat?
Right.
So this is naive. But I just hate the idea that our society is at the point where we have to get in between a doctor and their patient. It's broken.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. Thank you, Michelle. This is probably not what you signed up for. I'm sorry we're at this point, but it just seems broken that we have to put these policies in place and we have to navigate this so that that we go in between the doctors and the patients, and I don't like the feeling of that. But as Steve was saying, this is the society we live in right now, so.
John?
Michelle, I think I might be a little confused based on your explanation.
Yes.
So Humira is denied, then it goes back to the biosimilar drug. And Steve brought up the possibility of just having the biosimilar drug right off the bat. So you go to Humira, you go to discount, you can't get the discount.
Mm-hmm.
You come back, you come to the biosimilar drug, you have to start that same process over again?
Okay, so the patient is prescribed Humira.
Yes.
We send them to RX.
Work through that discount program.
Yep.
They can't come up with anything.
Okay.
So they come back to you. Does it then move down to the biosimilar drug?
No, initially when they are starting the process of trying to get Humira, they're going to say, this is excluded on the discounted program as well. And that's why we're adding the language. So it's excluded across the board.
Okay.
Just, you can't use it for the discount, you can't use it on our plan. Okay.
Okay.
So then at that time, as they're going through that process, they're going to say, but the plan, no, you are eligible through the assistance program for a Dacio. So they will probably have to go back to their doctor. Their doctor will have to see if they can take the biosimilar. And I'm not for sure, but I think it was this year, as of 2024, Humira lost, they don't have a patent anymore. So Dacio is the recommend. Yes. Yeah. So, and again, I can't speak for everyone. Everyone is biological makeup is different, but so far that has been the generic drug in place of Humira.
Okay.
So let me go back to John. At that point, when they go to the assistance, you said based on income discount, if they're approved, then they would be paying for that drug, discounted drug, the employee.
Depending on what, yes,
depending on where their income is.
Yeah.
So it seems like it might be unfair to some, and I guess this is a reverse order. The more money you make, the more you have to go to pay for the drug. Because if you didn't make that, it's free to you. Because it's gonna come, it's gonna come through the plan board. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I mean, I'm not, you probably can answer it. I don't know of any health insurance plan that has a totally wide open formulary that pays for everything on the market.
None of them do.
Yeah, so
They've all got some type of limitations, and that's why it's.
We just have things on both our pharmacy and our health plan that are just not covered.
Right.
Yeah.
And not to belabor it, I mean, with all the great medical advances and scientific advances we've had in medicine, those have come at an extremely high price tag in a lot of places. And some of that, Jason, as you kind of bemoan the whole situation. Part of this is I've got the patent on this drug. I can charge whatever I want to for it, and especially if it helps, especially if it's something new and helps people. You buy a patent on a drug, you drive the price up, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we're just stuck in a situation where we have to do something like this to protect the viability of our entire insurance system for all of our employees. So,
And thank you, John, for framing that. I was definitely bemoaning a little, but also I wanted to thank you for this added complexity and weaving through this and coming up with these options for our staff. So
And one of the
Jason,
things,
I bemoan it as well too.
we could all bemoan it for a few minutes if we wanted to.
Haven't been involved with Medicaid for years. And I know if you watch, when you watch TV at night, they'll advertise a drug and they'll say if you can't afford it, AstraZeneca may be able to help.
Right.
Their type programs. But I know there was always, the Medicaid formula was always, drug companies wanted their drugs on that formulary.
Yes.
Because if it's on the formulary, that means doctors will prescribe it. If it's not on the formulary and doctors look at it, they won't write it. So that whole thing about the formulary, whether it's Medicaid or Anthem or whoever's the plan is, it's drug manufacturers want their drugs on the formulary because prescribers are going to get it. I mean, see it, and they're going to decide what they write or not. It's huge. I mean, it's a huge industry. It really is.
And I just was gonna say, one of the things that the board did do when we did make the hard decision to exclude specialty drugs, that's when we partnered with RX Help Center, because it's still an avenue to help members to try to get the medication that they need. And a lot of times, like you said, these drug manufacturers, they have coupons and discount and just, you know, but if they know that a member has health insurance, they're not eager to provide that information or that type of assistance. So like you said, our hands are kind of tied. It's sort of like we got to pretend this to do this, and you know, just to get the best care for the member. So like I said, the board did approve that, and that's being helpful to the members.
And all of our employees get that good RX card also, right?
Yeah, I have tons of those sitting in my office.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Which a lot of times will make a drug cheaper even than it is on our formulary, depending on, yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to use both. You
Right.
can use either or. So the good RX card, yes.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Now, I make a motion to approve health plan amendment number 20.
Now I'll make a second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Michelle?
All right, thank
Another
you.
good job.
Can we put
Okay.
a vote to fix the drug industry one way or the other? Can we vote on that? Is that our power? Okay.
Item 6.1, Mr. Snyder?
And we're not, let's flip it over. Yes. Mr. Chairman, I would request permission to call a closed session pursuant to, we're skipping over that one.
Yeah.
Item 5 point, do you want to go and make the announcement?
Oh, yeah, item 5.5, Sharmista was getting some data together and didn't have everything ready for us to talk about this meeting, so we've got something to look forward to for Sharmista coming and enlightening us in June. So.
Okay. Now, Mr. Chairman, then, if with your permission, I would request permission to call a closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C, discuss proposed litigation regarding property matter, contract matter, and declaratory action, and also under KRS 61.8101B, to discuss the acquisition or sale of real property which publicity would likely affect the value of a specific piece of property acquired or sold for public use.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second? We have a motion second. All those in favor of going into closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're going into closed. 5 minutes. Do we have a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion second. All those in favor of coming out of closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, no action was taken during the closed session, and I would make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all.